Here's a couple of mushrooms, but they're not magic mushrooms. So probably Lloyd Ovens Lloyd Ovens probably wouldn't want to consume these mushrooms because they're your box standard ones, which will be going into a nice Italian dish this evening. So hello everybody. I actually thought 2024 was going to be a little bit more quieter. I just thought, you know, probably that's it. We've had all the shenanigans of the witnesses in 2023. Work shy Ovens has been very, very quiet, like only one video on beards, and that was it. I just thought that'd be it. And then all of a sudden this morning, somebody put a comment on one of my videos saying the great atheist has taken shrooms and has met God. And apparently the God he's met is Lloyd Evans. Bizarre. It's ironic, isn't it? Apparently the story goes, and it is, you can go and watch this video, but it is 24 minutes long, and I've got more important things to do with my life, to be honest with you. But anyway, the short version of the story is apparently some Canadian person, one of his loyal Lloyd Branch Davidians, pay for him to go to Canada to take part in sort of therapy where they actually take magic mushrooms. Now, magic mushrooms, as you're probably aware, you know, you can usually, you know, they pop up all over the place, and a lot of people have been taking them for a long time. Yeah, I've never taken magic mushrooms, and I probably won't, ever. And I've never actually done any drugs, actually, either as well, apart from the time somebody spiked my drink. However, you know, this is the guy, you know, to take magic mushrooms, a lot of countries is illegal, and obviously he goes to Canada, takes it somewhere, you know, which it's not unusual for Lloyd to go to a different country to get involved in some activity which may be illegal in his own country. Is it really? It's not unusual. So there you go. He went over there, and he was encouraged to go cold turkey on the drugs he was using so he can cope with the fact that he isn't relevant anymore and that his legacy is fucked. And somebody suggested not to do that, just come off your drugs and come over here and take some magic mushrooms to tune in and drop out. Which apparently, while doing this, he obviously then had an experience, like a lot of people who do drugs like that, whereupon the brain is very clever at making things feel almost real. And apparently in this hallucinogenic dream or experience or waking experience, he actually met God. And if you actually look at this YouTube comments, because again I couldn't play, I was going down it, there was loads of people who just saying loads of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses have done the very same thing. So it's leaving the witnesses. They have gone on to experience drugs, because of course during being a witness you weren't allowed to take drugs. It was a big no-no, so they've gone on to take them. And to be honest with you, I think it's setting a bad precedent, because obviously somebody like him, now not only not only is an example of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses can't stay faithful to his wife and goes out and seeks the comfort of a sex worker or a prostitute, now he's obviously seeking some sort of revelation through taking magic mushrooms. It's not a good example. What next? Crack cocaine. What is it next? Lloyd drops LSD. You know, had a really good long chat with God, and we're doing the live stream soon. You know, bizarre, really, really bizarre. The way this has turned out. I just thought, I don't think I'll be doing that. I was actually thinking maybe I wouldn't do a video about Lloyd this year, and we're into the third of a new year, and straight away I'm doing one. Well, somebody asked me to do one, to be honest with you. I just find the whole thing bizarre. This is the guy who's from day ones, but you know, came out to say he doesn't believe that there is a God or a concept of a God, and now all of a sudden he's actually met God having a chat in under the effect of magic mushrooms. It's just bizarre. I know loads of people have taken drugs. And I know loads of people who've taken drugs who aren't living anymore. I know loads of people who've taken them, experienced it all my life, of people who were either former Jehovah's Witnesses or they weren't witnesses at all, and to just experience, you know, the next high or the next out-of-body state or whatever it is are no longer with us, because all of a sudden they get introduced to something a little bit harder and they've not survived the experience. And when I think about, to be honest with you, all the great musicians that I have loved all my life, and I think of what happened to them, where all of a sudden people who start taking things that mind-altering substances unfortunately alter their mind forever. You know, people like Syd Barrett, Peter Green, Fleetwood Mac, Janis Joplin dead, Jimi Hendrix dead, Jim Morrison dead. The list goes on of people who took drugs and they never came back. They dropped acid one time and they're still, you know, they never came back to earth. I just don't think it's a good and clever thing what people are doing. A lot of people do it, it has no effect to them, they do it for a laugh, but a lot of other people, they end up in a road which only ends up in a horrible way for them. So I wouldn't recommend anybody to do it. And yet when you look at his comments on it, there's actually other people say that. People have actually said, I wouldn't do it. In my mind at the moment, I don't want to hallucinate and then come out of it and thinking, was that real, was that not, because people then want to then go back to the hallucination again, so they keep on taking because they prefer that version of the world than the reality of the one that we live in today. So I think it's a bad thing, and you can actually see when you look for the very first time, if you look at his YouTube comments and his latest video, there's so many people, then he's had to defend his actions. Loads of people saying, this is a bad thing, this is a bad thing, this is a bad thing. And there's other people saying, oh, it's absolutely a brilliant thing, oh, that's great. It's just bizarre. So yeah, I'm bizarre. Does he now believe in his, you know, in his dream state that there really is a God, that you know, he could find God was by being, you know, in an altered state of mind? It's just bizarre. I know loads of people are taking drugs, and the stories they could tell you, you know, it's just bizarre. You know, we go through you know, an out-of-body experience, as it was every time we dream. Every time we dream, we hallucinate. You know, where we go to school with, you know, forget our pajamas and all sorts of things. We pretend we can fly, or we can pretend we can swim, or we jump off a cliff, and you know, there's loads of things that you do. And then sometimes you can wake up and your dreams are that real. You actually, you know, it takes about half an hour to realise that it was just a dream. You know, it was just a dream. I don't know whether Lloyd now actually thinks that there is a God, because he's been in a, you know, he's had this experience. I don't know whether he'll go keep on testing it. I don't know. And I went to Amsterdam once to watch the football, watch United playing, and I was the only one out of the whole group that went. I think I never bothered taking any drugs, you know. And one guy over there actually did take a few of these bad boys. And literally, he took an allergic reaction to those, and all his hands went all really funny. And literally a month later, it was still the same. It took him ages to get away from the effects, you know, the adverse effects of taking magic mushrooms. Not to say that's going to happen to everybody, but you just don't know. Anybody who takes a drug just doesn't know what effect it's going to have to them physically or mentally. Why would anybody take that risk? Why would anybody do that? It's just bizarre. For a grown man at his age, I don't admit it, he's doing it. You know, how would that go back? And he's actually admitted that he's taking magic mushrooms, and then he's maybe trying to get custody of his children. I don't know. It's just bizarre. It's just bizarre state of play for him. I don't know where he's coming from. I don't know where he's going, but it's really weird. Maybe this is just for clickbait. Maybe you do a video to do that to next shock. He's seen his numbers plummeting. Maybe if I admit I've taken magic mushrooms and I've met God, all of a sudden I'll get loads of views. I don't know. Interestingly, talking about this, you know, maybe I was on magic mushrooms when I actually became one of Lloyd's patrons. Yes, bizarrely, we've seen reported his figures have dropped down to its lowest ebb ever of like 340. And then all of a sudden when I checked this morning, it was 626. I'm thinking, how has that happened? The reason why it's happened is because now you can be one of Lloyd's patrons for absolutely free. Yes, you can, boys and girls, if you really fancy. And I did test the waters, and just for a brief 30 seconds, I was one of his patrons. It offered me no benefits, to be honest with you. But yes, let me just check this. It might have gone up since or down, but it's 626 last time I checked. It's 626. But when you look at, when you go into become a patron member of this, you are encouraged to join one of the tiers. And unbelievably, and this gets my goat, the top tier to be a patron with him, you start off as a quid. But for the top tier, he wants you to fund him. You can become a governing hottie. Top tier is $42.50 a month. There are some mugs out there will pay this useless, lazy, work-shy twat £42.50 a month out of their money so that he can go to Canada and take magic mushrooms. It's just unbelievable. Wowie, there you go. So now that when we used to maybe celebrate, some of us, when we used to see the drop in the patrons, now they've also bounded up, because of course we don't know how many of those 626, that's how many posts, 626 posts, so it's 526 members. So we don't know how many of those 526 members, that's nearly 200 up from the other week, are actual paid up members of the Lloyd Evans Appreciation Society. The fact that you can now join him for free, and it was 340 and it's 526, shows that maybe it isn't all convincing to become the patrons of Lloyd's, just for the freebies. And to be honest with you, when you become a patron of Lloyd's for free, you don't get anything apart from encouraged to then pay £42.50 a month. Absolutely bizarre. What is going on with that guy? I tell you that the one thing which could help with his state of mind and his mental well-being, just get a job. Just go out, get a job, do a bit of hard grafting instead of grifting, and just put in a decent stunt and start getting some self-respect. I think that's the answer. Lloyd doesn't need magic mushrooms. He doesn't need to be on pharmaceutical drugs or prescriptions. He just needs to get a job, bit of self-respect, and then maybe he'll become the man he was always destined to be. But as when a guy's wanting to sponge off people so much, it's ridiculous. One final thing I was going to say, for those who may not have watched it, Kim Sylvia did a live stream with the Magnificent Seven. Well, it ended up being the Magnificent Six because Jonathan was a bit ill, so they had a very poor substitute. A guy came in. He came in late because his Wi-Fi was slow, and then when he came in, then he was dropped out again. Then when he came in, he forgot to put headphones in it, so it was like feedback in. And that was me. Yeah. So I do make an appearance in Kim Sylvia's video, albeit minuscule. But if you want to see the court documents relating to Lloyd's attempt to extort money out of these people, it's incredible. And where do you go from here? Bizarre. I'm sure if a judge will just throw all that evidence out the court and just say, my God, what is this on about? What is this guy trying to do? Is he on magic mushrooms or something? Next. So yes, it appears, I think he may have been on magic mushrooms when he actually thought that he could bring a case against these 7 individuals. He was certainly on something. Yes. So maybe that's been what's been happening all the time. Maybe he's been taking illegal substances. I don't really know. Anyway, that's all I have to say. I thought I'd make it brief and to the point. You can go and watch Lloyd's video if you really want to. You can become a patron if you really are taking magic mushrooms as well. Maybe not to go and watch the video, just read the comments. There are some interesting comments there, a lot of them cringe-worthy, but I think this is the first roasting he's ever had, and people actually saying they're unsubscribing, which must be, which must be quite news for Lloyd. Whatever next from the Lloyd Evans camp, Lloyd Ovens camp. I don't know what does Lloyd do now. I don't. Shoots up heroin and meets Satan. I don't know whatever happens next. But anyway, just bizarre. It's really odd. Yeah. Personally, the drugs don't work. They just make you worse. Yeah, it doesn't work, honestly. Anyway. Oh, by the way, it's the last time you'll see these bad boys because tomorrow, the 4th of January, I was working today, they are going to be taken down and life ends up being a little bit more duller. So it is. So I'm looking forward to early March. That's when I'm going abroad with the family to hopefully see some sun out of this cold, chilly Jocko weather. Enjoy your time. Nice to see you all. And just say no. Just say no. Bye-bye.